Ah. Ah. Oh my god, it's over. Hold your horses. Kia ora, my name's Kimmy and I talk about Formula One in the world's second worst accent. And today we're going to talk a little bit about Aston Martin selling its minority shareholding in, well, Aston Martin, and what that means for both the F1 team and the road car company. Now, while on the surface the idea of the car brand that has its logo plastered all over a Formula One car dumping its stake in the team might seem like a bit of a death knell, it's not really the case here. Aston Martin, unlike some other teams like Ferrari and Mercedes, is functionally no more than a title sponsor. Aston Martin Lagonda, the car company, has no direct ties to Aston Martin Aramco Formula One team other than a shareholding and sharing a chairperson. They don't develop the engine, they don't help with development of the mechanical or electrical components, and they currently only own around 10% of the team. Aston Martin Lagonda has also suffered an immense tanking in its share prices since they first were publicly listed on the London Stock Exchange back in 2018. After an initial steep dip in value, you can see they've been gradually, on average at least, declining on the whole for the past 6.5 years to where it sits today, and that's really not a good thing. If things continue the way they're going, Aston Martin Lagonda is going to end up bankrupt. That's not been helped by the recently imposed US import tariffs, which can only have one outcome, and that's a massive dip in sales in a pretty key market. Now, I know this is all kind of boring financial stuff, but essentially AML needs to free up some liquidity so they can buy time while they try to grow their brand in key non-European markets. Markets that don't include the United States of America. And what better way to free up that liquidity than to sell the shares they own in an F1 team while keeping all of its title sponsorship agreements in place thanks to an existing long-term contract, which is of course only cemented by the fact that Lawrence Stroll is the chairperson of both companies. Aston Martin, the Formula One team at least, is not messing around with its ambitions, from the high-profile hirings of Adrian Newey and Andy Cowell to the hundreds of millions of dollars invested in its new Silverstone campus and wind tunnel. They've always had a long-term plan, and that long-term plan is finally starting to bear fruit. The wind tunnel is now officially in use, Newey is finally on board, and some might say the shock of the season so far, besides all the Red Bull shenanigans, Lance Stroll has just had the best start he's ever had to an F1 season. Rip Fernando though, I think it's fair to say that Lance's results have been a little bit flattered by Alonso's double DNF. Up until now, Aston Martin have been using Mercedes' 20-year-old wind tunnel in Germany, which is not only a pain in the butt because it's not even on the same island, but it comes with the added annoyance of using other people's stuff, and probably also some of the same data correlation issues that Mercedes has seen in recent years. Sure, it's not as old as Red Bull's Antique, but it's struggled to keep up since the start of the new ground effect era. All this points towards Aston Martin being a serious contender come the regulation change at the start of next year. And I can't see Stroll's investment group dumping this particular slow burn anytime soon, because unlike Red Bull, they seem to be able to recognise when big problems need investment and staff and facilities and time, rather than putting all of its eggs in one Max Verstappen-shaped basket and just kind of taking the scattergun approach with the rest. So if you're an Aston Martin fan like Biz and started banging the doom and gloom drums the moment this news dropped, don't panic. This is nothing more than an astute financial decision from AML that's likely been on the cards since they invested in the F1 team in the first place. Like every Formula One team, Aston Martin has seen a drastic increase in the value of its business thanks to the boom in interest in F1 as a whole over the past few years. That drive to survive binge everyone did during COVID lockdowns happened right around after Lawrence Stroll and U-Tree's purchase of a significant stake in Aston Martin Lagonda. And it's fair to assume that with the growth F1 was already seeing prior to that particular global disaster side effect that is fortuitous fan base explosion, they could see that investment in an F1 team was pretty much guaranteed to give big returns if they could wait a few years for it to incubate. And if you think this means Stroll is gearing up to dump his stake in AML, and let the company drown, it's important to note Stroll and you are also increasing their investments in AML to 33%, which, to be fair, is probably at least a little bit made feasible by the car company's extremely low share prices, but it does demonstrate that he's not planning on going anywhere anytime soon over on that side of things either. At least not until it becomes a cash cow, which, like, even the most dedicated nostalgic billionaire Aston Martin fanboy turned company chairperson surely wouldn't be able to pass up, right? Thanks so much for watching this video until the end. If you enjoyed it, please make sure you tap the usual clicky buttons to ensure you keep seeing my stuff. Otherwise, you might never see one of my thumbnails ever again. If you'd like to see your name in the credits around here somewhere, or would like to be emailed when I post a new video, or just want to give me a little bit of an extra boost, you can now also support me on Patreon, either for free or for cold, hard, digital cash. The link's down there in the description. Mā te wā.